Namaskar and good afternoon. Welcome to our live and interactive session. I'm your host Neha. You're watching us live on NCERT official YouTube channel PME Vidya channel number 12 and NCERT PME Vidya class 12 as well. So in this live and interactive session for the students of class 12th, today we are going to hone our writing skills once again, and the topic that we have picked up for you is article writing. To discuss this topic at length, we have invited Ms. Meenu Gupta. She is a lecturer English at the Directorate of Education. Namaskar, Ms. Gupta. Welcome to the session. I also welcome our sign language interpreters, Ms. Anushka Sharma and Naina. So, dear viewers, for any of your queries, your doubts, and to share your feedback and suggestions, you can take down our contact details. First up is our phone number that you can see on your screen. The number is 8800440559. Apart from this, you can also write an email to us, and for that you can take down our email ID, which is dth.class12@ciet.nic.in. You can also drop in your messages, your questions on our NCERT official YouTube channel. Do not forget to mention your name and your location while writing in that message. Alright, without any further ado, let us get into the session, and my first question to ma'am is, ma'am, what do we understand by article writing and how important this topic is for the students of class 12?
See, for writing skills, it is important in two ways. If you look at it academically, of course you have to attempt a question paper on the basis of this article writing. You will be tested on it.
Right.
Another thing is, in your daily life, articles are equally important.
True.
Because first of all, you are reading a lot of it in terms of gaining information, building your critical thinking, learning about the world. And another thing, you have to write also, not just in formal setting, in informal setting also. Like you are writing on, in terms of expressing an opinion, you might be writing in newspapers, you might be writing in magazines, or you might be even writing blogs. So everywhere article writing is equally important, and we'll discuss it more when we'll look at it in the session.
That's true. Alright, so let's take a look at what do we have in the PPT.
Sure. So let's begin. So I am Meenu Gupta, and today we'll talk about article writing. So before we begin, let's understand what an article actually is. Because over the years, when you are coming up from class 6 to 12th, you are doing a lot of writing skills. And usually when we start with paragraph writing, then you turn to emails, letters, and now we are talking about articles. So what is an article? Article, it's a piece of writing which is usually intended for publication. So purpose is publication either in a newspaper or in magazine or a journal. So it is meant to be read. Articles are meant to be read for a wide audience. A lot of people will read it, and it may contain different type of content. It could be amusing stories, it could be something, an event or an action that has happened and you report it. It could be description of something particular, a place, an event, a person, a biography, it could be anything. Again, it could be formal or informal, depending on the audience. Like usually when we are talking about newspapers, we have a formal kind of a setup where you have to stick to the facts. But if you are talking about magazines, magazines have a lot of opinion based pieces where the writer talks about what he thinks about a particular event, topic or a person. Then again, articles, why would we read? It should be interesting to read, entertaining. It might give an opinion or it can be factual also. And how is it different from report writing you have been doing over the years? That report you stick to the facts only. But in an article, there is a place where you can give your opinion, you can add on to the information. So article is more informative than a report.
Alright, and I think when we talk about article writing, the writer can also add his or her own perspective to it.
Of course, perspectives can be added, but it depends on the type of article
Right.
or the purpose with which the article is being written. Sometimes, like in newspapers, the articles are supposed to just present facts, something that happened. because it is for a very wide audience and
True.
it may change how people think at a particular topic. But in the same newspaper, there are editorials also,
Right.
which have opinions of the people. They try to reflect, they try to compare, contrast about a particular topic, what different people think. So there could be opinion pieces also. Similarly, in magazines also there could be different type of articles depending on the purpose why that article is being written.
And I think there is another difference that all these topics carry is the format.
Exactly, their basic format would be same, but the language or the way you present that content would be a little different in terms of different articles because the purpose changes. So we don't change the format, we just change the way we present that content. Like if I am saying a fact, suppose I talk about an event that has happened. Suppose Trump goes to meet Modi. So we will tell that American President Mr. Trump met Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi on so and so date, say at so and so place. So it would be fact based. However, when we are talking about relationship between America and India, then we can talk about a lot of things. So the purpose changes. So the way I am presenting that content, article may have 3 to 4 paragraphs minimum depending on the content you are writing. And as a teacher or as a student of class 12 especially, you are expected to write at least 4 paragraphs when you are writing in an examination.
And I think it's a 5-mark question, ma'am.
Exactly, it's a 5 marks question where 1 marks is for the basically the format where the title and the writer's name is included, writer, designation, it's whatever is given in the question would be included in that 1 mark. Then it's like how do you present those ideas, is it making sense or is it not making sense? Like there should be an introduction, then the ideas should be developed, and then there should be the language that is used should be accurate in terms of grammar and spelling. So there would be the content holds maximum marks, that's 2, rest have 1 mark each.
Meenu ma'am, now since the question carries 5 marks and the student is supposed to write at least 4 paragraphs for a good article, what should be the word limit in that case?
So usually the word limit that CBSE mentions is somewhere between 200 to 250 words. Please look at the word limit that question paper is mentioning in the paper, but most of the time we are looking at 200 words, and if it is saying 200 words then you do not exceed, like sometimes we know a lot about the topic, we go on writing. So that is not good, you will end up wasting your time and losing marks. So if it's written 200 words, you do maximum like 250 words, which would be approximately 25 lines, 20 to 25 lines.
Alright, and you don't have to literally count each and every word that is there on the
generically
paper.
one line any average student would write 8 to 10 words.
Right.
That is why I am saying 20 to 25 lines, you will approximately reach that word limit.
Yeah. And once they practice, they will have a fair idea of how many lines they should be writing.
And yes, they do have a fair idea. And also, if you sort of place your article in a proper format, you will be able to cover everything and get good marks.
Right. What's next, ma'am?
So, exactly, before we start, we should understand why are we writing those articles. So the question you asked in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk about that. First of all, it promotes your engagement with current events. You know, it's a global world. So, we have to know a lot about global issues. So, reading those articles gives you an insight into global issues. It helps you understand the impact of social, political and economic factors, and it helps you to even contribute in some discussions. Man is a social person, right? So, there would be a social setup, you will be talking about something. Where is that content coming from? Whatever you are reading. And how do you learn what is new? Through important for your academic success. Nowadays, if you are applying abroad or even in colleges, they ask you for a statement of purpose. So, if you are not able to present your ideas well, your application might not be selected. So, that way if you have good writing skills, you can write a good statement of purpose and then get a good admission in a good place or in very reputed college.
So, we can say that writing articles is a good way to hone your writing skills.
Exactly, writing articles is a good way, reason being because there are different kinds of articles. So you learn to write in different manner.
Right.
In terms of looking at the purpose of my writing. Suppose I am writing for admission purpose. What is my statement of purpose? So what will I write? I'll talk about myself, I'll talk about my skill set, and also I'll talk about the ambition, why I want to get admitted to that particular college or that particular course. So there is a lot of information you have to put up in those limited amount of words. So that way article writing helps you a lot in terms of how to write. And of course, if you are looking at careers like journalism, marketing, public relations, it's a very good skill. Similarly, it adds on to your communication skills where you can express yourself very well. And also, once you have that habit of reading and writing, it becomes a habit or a part of your personality, which helps you stay updated in terms of whatever is going around. So that lifelong learning process, which should be a quality of any good learner or any human being, you learn that.
Very well pointed out.
So before we begin, please understand, look at the question and understand where this article is. It's usually mentioned, write a newspaper article or a magazine article. Second, who is the reader? Like, is it for the students only? Like sometimes you write for a school magazine. Or is it for teenagers or is it for the adults? Because your content will vary according to the audience. Also, what is the aim of my article? Do I want to advise the reader? Do I want to suggest something? Or I just want to inform this is the fact? Or am I comparing or contrasting any information? Or just describing whatever is happening around me? Like if we talk about nowadays, it's very popular Indo-Pak tension we are talking about. So if I just want to describe, so I'll just describe whatever is happening at various places, because it is not my place to give my opinion on something that is very grave or very important or a serious issue. So I'll just describe this is what is happening around me. So this is a description piece that happens. So first of all, we should know types of article. So there could be different types depending on where it is published. It could be a magazine article. Magazine could be a school magazine, or a magazine could even be journal or normal weeklies or quarterlies that people take or buy. And lot of these nowadays are online, so people do buy e-magazines. Or it could be a newspaper article. So the difference between, we have talked also, magazine article and newspaper article would be the way it is written. Magazine article has information plus perspective. Newspaper article has facts and details unless and until it is an editorial which compares and contrasts and reflects. So please understand what exactly am I writing. Also, what Neha talked about just now was what are different types of articles in terms of how we write them. So one is an expository article. Exposition, expose karna. What is expose? To know about something, to learn about the intricacy or detail about something. So expository article is if there is a topic and reader has a lot of questions in mind. Kya ho raha hai? What is happening around? What else can be done? Like recently there was news about the war might break out, right? So a lot of people had what are the security measures they had to take. So everybody was telling, do not open any APK files, you should have some handy cash, you should have some dry material to eat at home. So in these cases, when the readers have some questions and the writer is answering them, so it's an expository kind of article.
So this type of article will clearly have verified facts, isn't it, ma'am?
Yes, it would have verified fact and it would be very pinpointed. There would be no space of any personal opinion in the article.
True. So you have to stick to the topic
exactly
in this type of an article.
Usually articles are very concise. We are talking about just 200 words or 300 words, not more than 200, 250 words we write in a generic article. Because nowadays people neither do they have patience or time to read long articles. So the size of articles have automatically gone down. Next is a narrative article. Narration is when you talk about a particular event or a happening or a person or a topic. So you narrate. This is something that happened and now we are telling about that happening or that person or that particular event.
So is it like a storytelling thing?
Not exactly storytelling thing, because in storytelling we sort of dramatize a lot.
Yeah.
Stories are have more dramatic event elements and literary devices.
Right.
Whereas narrative articles will describe a event, it will tell you about everything around that event, but without any flowery language.
All right.
Okay. Then there are descriptive articles. These are like, so the difference between these three type of articles would be where, suppose I am talking about a meeting between two leaders, right. So, if there is a meeting between two leaders, it would be a narrative article. If the topic is the relationship between two countries, it will become a descriptive article. If people have any concern regarding the relationship between two, and then the person is writing an article about it, it will become a expository
So
article.
there is that minute difference that the students need to pay attention to here.
There is a very minor difference, and usually what happens, what is good about our articles is, usually the students are asked to write either descriptive or argumentative articles. So what's an argumentative article is when you give both sides of the coin, positive and negative, and then you kind of let the reader figure out what is right for them. Like, it's like a debate, but in writing.
All right, but you're still not having that argument with anyone. It's just that in one piece of writing, you're presenting both the viewpoints.
Yes, it's like giving pros and cons, merits and demerits, plus and minus in the same article. And then sometimes what happens is the writer is trying to convince you this is the right way. So it could be persuasive also. And whatever I feel is right, I'll present it in a better manner. So it will become a persuasive article that, okay, no, think, like coaching is good for the students, but please understand, the teacher might not pay attention, you might not pay attention, you might end up wasting time, it is expensive. So it will, if I think that coaching is not good, I'll try to convince you that coaching is not good. However, a healthy argument should be, I will tell you this is the plus of having a coaching, this is the negative of having a coaching, please decide whether you want to have it or not.
So the command, the writer has the command of the tone that he wants to set for the article.
Exactly. So the writer sets the tone of how the article should go and how should the reader react to that article or respond to that particular article.
That's true, ma'am, and it was very important for all of us to know the difference between these four types of articles, so that whenever a question is there in the examination, and of course before that as well, the students can decide what exactly they should be writing and they can secure better marks in the question.
Exactly. Even just not, it is not just about the marks actually. It is also about how I think and want to present my ideas. Alright, so how do I write an article? In terms of format, there is not much in the format. You are expected to write a title and your name and designation. So this will fetch you 1 marks, simple. And then there is the content. So before we write the content, please what you should do would be just put down everything you know in a rough space. Everything you know about that particular topic, just put it in the rough space. Then we start what we need to put and where we need to put them.
Ma'am, is there anything called the byline while writing an article? So
byline is nothing but where you try to explain the title, or in the byline you just give the name of the writer and designation. We'll just discuss in detail.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
When we are discussing particular articles, I'll just pick that up. So, in terms of basic format, there are only 4 paragraphs we usually expect from the students. First, we write the title. Then, after that, in the byline, what would happen would we'll write the name of the author and if any designation, if any. If the question mentions any designation, we'll write that designation. Now, next is the introduction of the article. So, introduction will become your first paragraph, right. So, in terms of first paragraph, please understand, first paragraph is the first thing the reader will see. So, it should be something that would trigger the curiosity of the reader. So, it should be very interesting. How can we make it interesting? We start with a quote. we start with something event that has happened, or you can start with a very good opening line in terms of wow, what a day, and the reader would be hooked. Okay, what a day, what happened? So that way, something that triggers the curiosity of the reader. And please pay attention, we should introduce the theme immediately, because introduction, what we are introducing? We are introducing the topic. What is the topic? The title. So we just introduce the theme very immediately in the first paragraph. Usually the first paragraph we are expected to write approximately 3 to 4 lines, not more than that, and you are done. After that comes the second paragraph. This paragraph can be broken into 2 or 1 paragraph depending on the content or the ideas you have. Keep one idea in one paragraph, arrange it in a logical sequence, and try to maintain a continuity in the paragraph. For example, if I am trying to talk about, suppose pollution, very general. So in first paragraph, what will I write? I will introduce the topic and the concerns we have in terms of pollution. Second paragraph, we can talk about various types of pollution and how is it affecting our quality of life. In third paragraph, you can talk about the solutions of pollution, if any. In fourth paragraph or the concluding paragraph, we do not repeat what is already written, but we try to connect the first paragraph, second paragraph and third paragraph, conclude it and end it. And sometimes the writer tries to sensationalize the ending. We try to end with, so see, in the article there is a heading or the title, then there is, after that there is a author's name and designation. In newspapers there might be a picture. In terms of question paper you are not expected to write that, and then there is the content. See, this is the byline you were talking about. So byline is nothing which is next line after the title, which usually is where we write the name of the author and his designation or any job or any profile that person holds.
And does this line come immediately under the heading?
Yes, usually we just write it under the heading, because that's like title and then byline, something that continues with the title, that is why it's called a byline.
Okay, and the name of the writer is usually given in the question, I believe.
Yes, so name of the writer is usually given in the question paper, and if it's not written, you stick to XYZ or ABC. You are not supposed to write your original name in the question.
That needs to be kept in mind, very important.
I think now they are in class 12, they have been trained over the years in this, but we are just repeating for in terms of reinforcing it. Just use the name that is given in the question. If not given, we stick to ABC or XYZ. So, like question, it's written, let's discuss the questions. In question, it's mentioned, you are Vikram or Vinita, a lawyer much concerned about the discriminatory treatment of women in Indian society. Write an article in 150 to 200 words. See, the word limit is given. Throwing light on the problem and suggestions for putting an end to it. So now here it is written 4 marks, earlier it was written 4 marks, now it has been awarded 5 marks in the question paper. So we write title, then there is a byline. In terms of introduction, you can see there are hardly 2 to 3 lines that you have to write. Then we write about the topic, possible solution, and then we conclude. This is how a normal article looks like in terms of your class 12th question paper CBSE. Going ahead, now if I am supposed to write it, how do I write it? So in your class or even in your paper or examination center, just first of all write a heading on the top, write the name of the writer and split your subject matter in 3 to 4 paragraphs. Now how do I split my matter in 3 to 4 paragraphs? That is why I said write everything you know about that topic in on the side in your rough space. You have a rough space in the question paper, answer sheet. If not, just draw a line, create a rough space for yourself and write whatever you know about that topic in that rough space. Now arrange whatever you know, like there would be common headers in this topic, like if we are talking about a problem like technology advancement, suppose. So like science is a boon or a bane. So you will have either some problems or some advantages. So you club everything together under common topics, like advantages at one place, disadvantages at one place. Then there would be one introduction paragraph and one concluding paragraph. If possible, please give some data in support of whatever topic you are mentioning, if you know. If you do not know, it's okay, but if possible, provide some statistics. Also, in terms of continuity, sometimes what happens is, like, students don't understand how do we create continuity between paragraphs. So we can use sentence linkers like consequently, similarly, finally, moreover, to create that continuity. So I think.
So what else are we talking about here? When we talk about article writing, there are so many things that we need to pay attention to. What's next, ma'am?
So in terms of what we need to pay attention to, especially if we are looking at 515, and please be very confident in what you are writing, because nowadays in English you can get good marks.
Right.
100 on 100 is also not something that is unachievable. So if I am looking at 515 in terms of my article, so what I have to pay attention to is coherence. What is coherence is like one thing is related to another. The ideas must fit together. Secondly, there should be an order, like in your mind or on the paper where you have written your rough content, you should have some common headers which will create order in terms of whatever you are writing. So you write the most important thing first, then something that is less important, and then the least important. So you have to write it in terms of something that is big to small to smaller. Then sentences must be linked up. Try to write all the relevant ideas that are important, and you should keep one point of view when you are writing. Your writing should not show confusion on your part that you don't know what is happening. You might have a lot of ideas, a lot of points, but if not written or pieced together, it will look like as if you are confused. So you should not come out to be looking confused when you are writing the article.
Okay, now we have some points to remember. Let's take a look at that also.
So now the format which we were talking about. So in the heading, please remember heading should be very eye-catching, but do not use more than 4 words or 5 words maximum in the title. Sometimes try to making catching, we will write the whole line. No, not more than 4 to 5 words. Your title should not be more than 4 to 5 words. Okay. Then byline, by whom the article is written, and please just not the name. What is the position of that person, we have to write. Designation, I am saying time and again, but if you don't understand what designation is the position I am here. But just limit yourself to the theme. सब कुछ नहीं लिख सकते हैं हम उस आर्टिकल में. Self to the theme, सब कुछ नहीं लिख सकते हैं हम उस आर्टिकल में. We have to stick to the theme, and the language should be very, very clear. Your language will tell what kind of article are we looking at. Are we writing a narrative, or are we writing a expository article, or are we writing an argumentative piece?
Ma'am, does it ever happen that the students, since they know a lot,
Yes.
like you just said, do they come to the point immediately mostly, or do they keep beating around the bush? Are there any instances like that?
Sometimes what happens is, because the student knows a lot and they do have a command over the language, they'll try to use a lot of literary devices.
Right.
Or they'll write a lot of information putting and. Please avoid it. Smaller, simple sentences or even complex sentences work till you do not use a lot of connectors. It will take away from the weight of your language. Also, it will end up like you'll make a lot of more mistakes when you are using a lot of connectors.
And they may also exceed the prescribed word limit.
Oh, that's another, what should I say, side effect about it. When you write a lot of connectors, you actually exceed the word limit. Very good point, Neha. So, when we move to the next paragraph, which is now our paragraph 2, what we do is we try to create a cause and effect relationship with the topic. Give me a topic, anything that comes to your mind.
Let's talk about the fast food that's very common these days.
Okay, now I am talking about fast food. So, what is fast food? It is the reason for something, or it should be the base. Now, what would be the effect of eating that fast food?
Poor lifestyle, obesity, health problems.
Exactly. So, when I am writing paragraph 2, what I am doing is I am trying to create that cause and effect relationship. That what is the cause? Eating fast food. And now what would be the effect of that eating that fast food? I will be obesing, I would have nutritional deficiency, I will end up having diseases, I will have a poor lifestyle, I won't have energy to work, or it will have a long term effect. So, I am creating that cause and effect relationship between the topic and whatever I am writing in that article. So, usually paragraph 2 of the article explains the cause and effect relationship between the theme and whatever am I writing.
And I think, Meenu ma'am, to be able to mention all that detail and information, the student should have that information with them. And for that, they should read a lot. They should be aware of what is happening around.
That's why when I started the lesson today, I said, reading and writing articles is a complementary thing.
They go hand in hand.
Yes, they go hand in hand. Where you are garnering information, usually what our information sources are, either it's mobile, social media, our friends. So, nowadays students do not have that habit of reading.
Yes.
So, what you can do is you can read e-magazines, you can read newspapers, or even blogs. You can subscribe to good blogs, you can do that. You can ask your teachers to give you some examples or good websites where you can read that. And even your teachers can provide you with e-newspapers or e-magazines. There is nothing right or wrong or good or bad. It is just you should have information. More information you have, more your brain is able to process it and sort it out what is right and what is wrong. Also, sometimes information that you are getting might not be true. So, reading a lot will help you develop those reflection thinking skills also, that you can decide or think whether it is right or wrong. Should I believe it or not? Like people earn a lot in stock market, right? So, if you get a link, you invest through us, you will get good returns, or will double your money in like 1 month or 2 months. So, but if you have some background knowledge, your brain will tell you, no, it's not possible to double your money in 2 months. You will have that knowledge, it could be fraud also.
Right.
You will have that understanding, I should not click on any link that comes to me. So, reading and garnering information from around us gives a lot of practical thought process to you.
That's true.
Now, moving to our articles back. So, going to from cause and effect, next paragraph or paragraph 3 of our article, you can do a couple of things. One, you can compare and contrast with other information. Second, if we are talking about a problem, like we talked about fast food just now, if we are talking about a problem, what we can do is we can do a solution kind of a thing, which could be a probable alternative to fast food, like taking your tiffin from home. Sometimes students do not feel it appropriate or cool, I should say, to carry tiffin from home. But if we are looking at health perspective, carrying something you like from home is not a bad idea.
And you know, they can also order something healthy.
Of course.
Because they like to order a lot.
Exactly. Then if not, you can't carry it, if there is some constraint, then looking at the right choices. What are the healthy choices that are available if you have to order it?
So you can also go with the trend, plus at the same time you can get good marks and you can be a good writer while writing an article.
Exactly. And you should, you can even learn to be cool.
Yes.
And then if I'm concluding it, what I do is I try to connect everything from paragraph 1 to paragraph 3. So what I might conclude in terms of fast food, that fast food nowadays is a necessity looking at paucity of time. However, making the right choices is always a personal choice. It's my own prerogative. So think where you want. What do you want? What's your choice? A healthy lifestyle or just taste for a few moments? So we can even leave the readers with a question. What will you choose?
And they can also provide solutions that if they exercise regularly, I think once in a while they can also have a cheat meal, isn't it?
Yes, of course they can. So that will come in paragraph 3.
Okay.
But in paragraph 4, usually what do? We leave the reader with an idea.
Right.
In an action point which they might need to follow or they would like to follow or decide in terms of that particular topic.
Ma'am, I have a question, like what should be the ideal length of the last paragraph, because here the child has to conclude the entire article. All the thoughts need to be kind of summarized here.
So summary does not mean we need to repeat them. We'll just pick something that is most important from each paragraph.
Okay.
So like usually 3 lines or 4 lines is the best conclusion.
It should not be like filled with a lot of information.
No,
at
no,
the
that
end,
information you have already given. Repeating it will not make sense.
Right.
We are just trying to make sort of reader decide, this is what I am providing you. Now you think and do what needs to be done. I can't take the decision on behalf of the reader, but I can tell them ki bhai ab socho, think and decide for yourself.
So the second and the third paragraph can have the maximum information, I guess.
Yes, it has the maximum information. Usually most of the information is in paragraph 2, which has the maximum length.
Right.
Then paragraph 3 has the maximum length. Concluding and introductory paragraphs are usually 3 to 4 lines each, that's all.
So you need to keep this in mind, because the way your article looks, it makes a lot of difference as well, I guess.
Exactly. See, the person who is checking your mark sheet might not
Your
have
answer sheet.
Answer sheet won't have a lot of time. Okay. So the way you present it, and if it's very coherent and very clearly visible to the person who is reading it, you'll automatically get good marks. So when you are writing in the question, you will have a verbal or a visual input on the basis of which you have to write. Please pay attention to what is given to you and what the question paper, what the examiner is asking you. Begin with a very good opening sentence to grab the attention of the reader. Here it would be the examiner. Present a good argument or idea. So usually giving statistics helps if you know anything about it. For example, if we are talking about pollution, air pollution only, so you can mention that there is 20% of oxygen component in the air, and that too is now polluted. How will we survive? How much this much population on the world or on the earth survive? Then try to make it coherent in terms of use good interesting anecdotes if you have. If you have some information about that particular anecdote. Like if I am talking about fast food, so you can just evoke a good idea in the mind of reader. How does it like? You have a burger, fries and Pepsi in your hand. And reader will automatically have that idea. So he'll be interested in the article you are reading. So invoking the thought process of the reader also helps. But write simple, short, grammatically correct sentences. Do not use a lot of connectors or linking devices. So I think we are done in terms of what is expected. Let's do an example.
Ma'am, before we discuss the example, I have a question.
Yes.
What should be the person in which the articles are written in general?
See, in terms of person, usually the writer is not visible in article writing.
Which means it cannot be the first person.
No. Usually the person is not visible. So it's usually a third person writing. Most of the time.
Just like a report.
Just like a report. And that's why we did mention the difference between a report and an article.
That's true.
Right. Also, in case I am writing a opinion piece, which does happen, like you have columns,
Yes.
which in the newspaper there are columns like column by Shobha Day or Twinkle Khanna or
Many
ABC.
more people.
ABC. So in terms of that opinion column, you will notice even if she is giving her own opinion, she will never say, I'll tell you to do this.
Right.
That I is totally missing.
So she'll play very safe and
Yes.
she'll choose the third person to present those views. And I think even in an argumentative or a persuasive type of article, do we still choose to be writing in the third person?
Yes, we'll still write in the third person. So argumentative piece also, what we are giving is we are giving merit in terms of our arguments. I'll try to convince you in terms of facts rather than I believe this. Who am I? Do you know me?
Right.
Right? Nobody knows the writer. Even if you know me personally, one or two person might be knowing me, but hundreds of people who are reading that article might not know me. So I as a person do not matter, but the facts I am presenting in favor of that topic do matter.
Now this is something very important and the student should commit it to their memory that while writing an article, please stay away from using the first person because this might cost them some of their marks.
Yes. So we have to write in third person. Also, let's try to do it with one example. Let's take up one example so that you are able to understand what we have discussed till now. As you can see on the screen, the question is, over the past few years, there has been constant rise in coaching institutes and private tuition centers all over the country. Write an article in about 150 to 200 words highlighting the exploitation of young minds that seek sincere counseling and proper direction. You are Mahesh or Meeta, a student of class 12th of Indira Public School. So, if you pay attention to the question, what is the input that is given in terms of words? That there is rise in coaching institutes and private tuition centers. Secondly, there is exploitation of young minds. Third is they might not get sincere counseling or proper direction. Also what is given is your name, you are Mahesh or Meeta, class 12th student, Indira Public School. So this is what you already have in the question. So what do I do? If I get it in the paper or in the examination, first thing I'll do is, what is the title I'll write. So the title is telling you the direction where it wants to go. What it is telling? There is exploitation of the students. So title is very clear, coaching institutes exploits students. So paying attention to the question will tell you how do we approach the article or what we have to write. So we have to just mention the negative points of the coaching institutes because it is talking about exploitation or the negative impact of coaching institutes.
Now this is also equally important that the child should read the question carefully and understand what exactly they are supposed to be doing.
Instead, if the question was examine or critically think whether coaching institute should be there or not, then you can write both positives and negatives.
Right.
But if the question is saying highlight the exploitation of young minds, that means you have to mention the demerits. So please pay attention to what question is asking. So the title becomes Coaching Institutes Exploit Students. Who is writing it? I am Meeta, class 12th student. What could be the introductory lines? See, it's already given in the question. There is a rise in coaching institutes and private tuition center. So you can just say coaching institutes and private tuition centers have come up in every nook and corner of the city over the past few years. These so called temples of learning are exploiting young minds. See, we are sticking to the theme. What question is asking? Exploiting young minds for their financial gain. So this is an introductory paragraph where I talk about what these coaching institutes are doing to the student. They act as magnets to attract innocent, inexperienced students who are seeking sincere direction or counseling in terms of their future. So, in the introduction I am just mentioning the number of institutes that have come up, they are exploiting us and are detrimental to the success of the students. Next, paragraph 2. Most private tuition centers or coaching institutes treat students as commodities instead of providing them with proper direction in terms of their scholarly, or you can even write academic or pursuits, and giving them individual attention, leaving them to fate. The counselor who is appointed to these institutes is assigned the task of filling the unpopular coaching programs with more students so that the institutions can maximize profits, and irrespective of whether the particular program suits the students or not. See, this is about counseling, because the question said counseling. You can even mention that these coaching institutes, why do people go to coaching institutes? Because they do not have that support at home. So, if the coaching institutes are not helping them reach the right direction or not guiding them properly, it would be a wastage of time, it would be wastage of money, and it would be the wastage of purpose with which they are ending in the coaching institute. So, next we can talk about this in the third paragraph. These coaching institutes take advantage of the ignorance of illiterate parents by advising them to enroll their weak child in the crash course, whereas he needs to join long term coaching program. So, what is needed might not be provided. The sole purpose of these institutes are to fill their coffers is bank balance basically, with money, and not to look into the well-being of the students who are the future asset of the nation. And how do, so now what I have written in paragraph 2 and 3 are a lot of problems, or how these coaching institutes are exploiting the parents and the students, not doing their job well.
Right. Meenu ma'am, we have about 5 minutes before the session ends.
Yes.
So, do we have any practice questions?
Yes, we do have practice question. So, before I do the practice question, I'll just mention one line about the conclusion.
Sure.
So, like in paragraph 2 and 3, because there were a lot of problems, we have mentioned a lot of problems. So, in the last paragraph, you can mention a solution also in terms of the problem, like education department or the government, how can it help in tackling the issue. So, that you can mention in the conclusion. And now, let us do a practice. The prices of the essential commodities are skyrocketing, causing much hardship to the common man, especially inflation. If you are a commerce person, you will know a lot about inflation and how is it affecting your everyday prices. Write an article in 150 to 200 words expressing your views and suggesting measures to curb this problem. Now see, in this question I have not written the name of the writer, who you are. So that, what will we write? What do you think, Neha?
I think we are supposed to write either ABC or XYZ.
So we will write ABC or XYZ, a student, class 12 student, because you are a class 12 student, you are attempting it in the question paper, in the class 12th examination CBSE. So, you are expected to write that only.
Ma'am, are there any designations ever given, like maybe you are the secretary of a particular club, or you are the head boy, head girl of the school?
They are given, they are like sometimes the articles are of public interest. There would be a topic of public interest. So, a lawyer might also write an article. Right. There could be reporters who are writing an article. There could be secretaries or somebody who is actually a part of that particular event who is writing.
That's
so, they will mention the designation, but usually for the students, it's a class student or something who is belonging to the school system,
yes,
who they are expected to emulate or copy.
All right. So, we are approaching the end of the session. So, I have a few questions to ask you before we wind up the session. Ma'am, what are the common mistakes that as a teacher you might have come across in article writing?
So, usually what happens is the students do not try to arrange their points or their ideas in a proper manner, like they do not club similar ideas similarly. So, that is why I told you ki write everything you know, then club it under common headers.
Right.
So it will create that impression in the mind of the reader or the teacher that you have written it in a very thoughtful manner and written it very properly.
And I think jotting down the points will help in this case.
Yes, exactly. Jot everything you know about that particular point. Also, what happens is when we are writing, we write long sentences. We'll try to write everything in that one sentence only. Break the sentence. Make it short.
Yes.
You will avoid a lot of mistakes if you write shorter sentences. You will not make grammatical mistake. Third point is not dividing your article into paragraphs. Sometimes students write from in one paragraph only, everything in that one paragraph. So the person who is reading will say, oh, itna bada paragraph hai. No.
Not to be done.
Not to be done. So break your paragraph, break your article into 3 to 4 paragraphs depending on what you are writing.
And I think leaving a line before they start the next paragraph is a good indication to change
you
the
might,
para?
if you want to make it more clean and legible, you might. If you don't want to leave the line, it's okay.
Okay.
That's not a problem. It's just that you need to frame your ideas or you need to demarcate your ideas properly.
No, my question is how to indicate the change of paragraph.
So sometimes, usually earlier what we used to do, we used to leave a centimeter space in while changing the
Which
paragraph.
is called indenting.
Indenting. But nowadays indenting is not popular anymore.
Yes.
It was an old style of
It's
writing.
kind of obsolete now.
It's obsolete now. So nowadays you can do, as Neha suggested, if you want to make a clear indication, you can just leave one line in between and then change the paragraph. Even if you don't leave it, usually teachers do understand when you are changing it because there might be some space left in the previous paragraph also when you are leaving that paragraph.
Right. So finally we have come to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Meenu ma'am. It was very, very informative and I thoroughly enjoyed the lesson and I am hoping that our viewers have also thoroughly enjoyed the session. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I also thanked our sign language interpreters of the day, Ms. Anushka Sharma and Ms. Naina. Thank you so much for being with us. And dear viewers, this brings us to the close of the lesson. But before we wind up, there is an important piece of information regarding Balpan Ki Kavita competition. Let's take a look at a video.
क्या आपको भी गीत कविता पढ़ने लिखने और गाने गुनगुनाने में रुचि है? तो आइए शिक्षा मंत्रालय भारत सरकार की एक अनूठी और सराहनीय पहल का हिस्सा बने तथा भारतीय भाषाओं और अंग्रेजी में लोकगीत और कविताएं भेजें। आप दिए गए लिंक पर अपनी रचनाएं अथवा किसी अन्य रचनाकार के गीत और कविताएं भेज सकते हैं। भारतीय भाषा कविता प्रतियोगिता के नियम आदि भी आपको इसी लिंक पर उपलब्ध होंगे।
Dear viewers, please also be informed that the new NCERT textbooks for classes 4 and 7 are now available on the official NCERT website. The books can be downloaded from there and the books can also be purchased from e-commerce platforms like Amazon and Flipkart. Well, with this we have come to the end of our session and as I always say that keep learning and keep that curiosity alive and we'll come back with another set of our live and interactive sessions next week. Till then, take very good care of yourselves. Namaskar.